Hi, everybody. It's Michelle Hill, your legacy builder at Winning Proof, here with another episode of Winning Proof Unscripted. And in my July Teammate Appreciation Month, I have oh my gosh, my ghostwriter, Sherry, is here today to talk with me. And we're just going to have a conversation. I'm going to ask Sherry about what she does, how she approaches projects and what she likes working on, and we'll just see where it goes. So that's what we're going to do. Welcome, Sherry. Thank you so much for being on an episode of Winning Proof Unscripted.
Oh, Michelle, thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, tell people a little bit about how you got into ghostwriting, a little bit about your background so they can familiarize themselves with who you are.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Well, let's see. Besides being a sports nutritionist, I have extensive background in business. At one time, my husband and I owned several McDonald's restaurants, World Gyms, and Smoothie Kings in 5 states. So I have a strong business background as well. And as a result of that, I've always been a writer as long as I can remember. I always did well in school when it came time to writing papers. And then as I got in the business world, I got asked to write articles for magazines. And then that led me to writing my first book back in 2007. And it was so well received by the author that I was like, you know what? I really like writing books. I love the process. I love doing research. I'm very good at doing that. And I also enjoy interviewing people. And so as a result of that, I ended up writing, oh my gosh, over 100 books just for doctors, clinical nutritionists, and scientists that needed a book to go along with their practice. And because I had such a strong background in nutrition, fitness, wellness, I was able to write these books in layman's terms so that the reader would get it. If the doctor wrote it, oftentimes it's just too complicated. And so that kicked off that part. And then I enjoyed started writing memoirs. And I did my first one years ago and enjoyed doing that process. I love interviewing my authors. So that's how I got into memoirs, mainly for CEOs, business owners, lawyers, also doctors, and national speakers.
That is wonderful. And as a former ghostwriter, recovering ghostwriter for 6 years, I so appreciate your gift because I did it, but it wasn't in my wheelhouse to do specifically. So I really, I think it's works when everybody works in their zone of genius.
Yes.
I like putting the pieces together and all the connecting people. That's where mine is. And I love the fact that you do what you do and love it. And that's your passion. And tell people about how many books you have written altogether.
Oh, yeah. So now it's closer to 200 that I've written, and I have 5 on the bestseller list, which I'm really proud of. And what else? Yeah, I just really enjoy bringing people's stories to life and hearing what they've gone through, how they got to the other side, how they got through an issue, a problem. And just to me, that's always so fascinating. I've always enjoyed reading memoirs anyway. So this has allowed me to, get into that.
Yeah. And don't you find that there's always stories within the story? And that's
Yes.
what your job is, to just really unearth the stories and unearth the emotion behind the story. So how do you approach that with maybe somebody in an industry that you're not familiar with? How do you approach that client?
Yeah, yes, there's been many times where I've had to read books, do some research on a particular topic just so I got, more familiar with it. I also, in the course of that research, put together questions that go even deeper than maybe they have thought of. Or I can't tell you how many times I've done that where someone will say, God, no one's ever asked me that. Or I hadn't even thought about going into that part of the story or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, yeah, but the reader's going to want to, I feel. And as a result of that, that's how you get a great book, bringing out that emotion, asking the questions that they, not only the author's perspective, but maybe others that were involved. I've had to interview other people that are involved in the story as well. So yeah, there's a lot of prep work prior to starting a project.
There absolutely is. And is it true that about 200 to 300 hours go into each book?
Oh, yes. And then some.
And then,
I mean, I am thinking about this project when I'm making the bed, brushing my teeth,
yes,
washing the dishes after dinner, and I think, oh, I got to remember to add this, or that would be a great question to ask, tomorrow at my next meeting, whatever. So, meeting with the author once a week is absolutely critical, sometimes twice a week.
yeah, yeah.
It's just
And that's true. You're working when you're not working because your brain is working on the project itself. Have you ever encountered an author that maybe wanted to go in a certain direction for the book and you knew as a professional, oh my gosh, no? Have you ever encountered that, and how did you deal with that?
Yes, not that often, because typically they have a purpose for that book, and I get that out up front. We need to know up front the purpose of writing that book, whether it's to position them as an expert in their field, enhance their speaking career, because frankly, if you want to get into the national speaking world, you got to be published. Bottom line, got to have a book. And it just speaks volumes about you. And also, when my experience as a speaker, people, once they hear you speak, they want to take a piece of you home with them. And a book is a great way to do that. You give them so much information during maybe the workshop or seminar or keynote, but they want to take it home with them. And so a book is absolutely critical. But if they're in the course of writing a book and I feel like we could go in another direction, I certainly try and guide them that way. And sometimes that happens during the writing process.
Yes.
We may switch directions during the interview process or even during the research. But again, that's why creating an outline up front is also key. Acts like a roadmap, kind of keeps us on track. And if we feel that we need to go a different direction, then at least maybe we've got something that we can take it from. And then it just makes the process easier.
Yeah, it does. I totally agree. And I'm just glad that you do that and not me.
Thank you.
I'm being totally honest here. Like I loved ghostwriting at the beginning. I loved all the aspects that you said, the researching, the putting the books together, but then it just something, didn't work for me, that the long form, where I like the more snappy, short term stuff, short game, and doing all the pieces. It could be for a long-term project, but I like all that. So I really appreciate that you put so much of yourself into the book, into each project. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I enjoy it. It is my job though, as their ghostwriter, to still write the book so it sounds like them,
Yes.
and not necessarily me. Granted, there's going to be some of that in there, but for the most part, I love it when the author says to me, "Wow, this book sounds just like me." After I'm finished with it, I'm like, "Ah, thank you."
Yes. And that was actually my next question to you, was that how do you go about writing a book in the author's voice when you're interviewing them? Do you listen for repeated words, nuances? How do you capture all the essence of their personality onto the page?
Yes. How they say certain things, and that takes some time a little bit. Sometimes you have to interview a few times to really get how they would say something. But then after a while, it's like, okay, I know this is how they would say it, and you just kind of, it's really interesting. It's a very intimate relationship that gets developed during the writing process, because you really get to know them. And there's times when, what, no, we better not put that in the book, or, stuff like that. But for the most part, I get to know them well enough where I can write how they would say it. And I had experience in that writing scripts. And when I did spokesperson work for a long time, I always wanted to write the script for me because otherwise, if someone else wrote it for me, that's not how I would say it on
Yes.
camera. And that was very important to me. Well, the same thing's true for the book. It's got to read like they wrote it. And that's very important to me.
Yeah, very much so, because it's a work that they have to be proud of and their family. And you know that they're going to be under scrutiny, with good scrutiny sometimes, and sometimes not so good. But with family, I know that you have a client of mine right now that he's so excited because the family is like, his family is so excited about getting his book. And so they're going to read it with, oh, whatever they call him, Papa or Pop Up or whatever, their pet name for him is, they're going to say, oh, this sounds just like you. And that's, that has to be rewarding for you, which comes to like, what is the most rewarding aspect of what you do?
Probably when it comes to memoirs, it's capturing their life story, their family history, creating a legacy, something that will be around so that future generations will know a little bit more about their background and their family. So that's one. The other is, positioning them as an expert in their field, should they have gone through something that was either traumatic or, and they need to let people know. One of the books I'm most proud of is called The Pharmaceutical Myth, that I wrote for a clinical nutritionist. And I'm really passionate about this being in nutrition,
Yes.
but he was in the pharmaceutical industry making a fortune per month selling drugs. Now, granted, there's times when drugs are needed. I get it. But I also think there's a point, and unfortunately, his mother had been put on probably 5 or 6 drugs by her doctor, and they were at church on a Sunday night, and she started coughing up blood
Oh,
and ended up in the hospital and was gone 2 days later. Well, it wasn't until he didn't realize that she was on so many meds, and as a result of what he experienced and saw her go through, he quit his job and became a clinical nutritionist. And if you ask him what he does for a living, he says, I heal people from drug-induced diseases. And I'm like, amen, you know?
yes, yes.
So I am very passionate about that. And I basically chronicled his journey of getting to that point and how he does it. He still does it to this day.
Oh man. Now, can you say, I know you said the name of the book. Can you say the author's name?
Yes, his name is Gerald Roliz, Roliz. It's a great book. It's on Amazon. It made the bestseller list. And he's a clinical nutritionist. Yeah.
I think people would be interested in that, because I think, not going into a medical discussion, but I
Yeah.
think so many Western doctors are just trained to be pill pushers. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, and I know they're not all like that, but it seems like the bulk are trained to do that. And so I'm so glad for this book. I probably go put it in my Amazon. I'm not, and that's why I think has kept me young and vibrant, is because I have kept off of it, any prescription drugs,
Yeah.
except for
Exactly.
Synthroid, which
Ah,
I need to live. But that is great. So yeah, I would be proud of that book too, because that's part of your legacy as well, helping him get his story out.
yes. And that was very kind of him. He put that in the book, that I did help him get that book done, which is very nice. Obviously, being the word ghostwriter, operative word being ghost, there's times when, the author's adamant, no, you can't be known that you did anything of this book. And I'm like, I know, I get it. And I have no problem with that,
Yep.
because my job is to make them look good, however that is, whatever that takes.
Yeah, exactly. And when I was doing that as well, you're right. It just, some were just no problem. I mean, book collaborator, everybody knows that you don't do this thing alone. Even
Yeah.
if somebody writes their own book, you still have other people around you that help you produce and help you publish the book. But some were just like, oh yeah, just put your name in there. And often I would write the thanks section, acknowledgments section, and
Oh
I would
yeah.
just put my stuff in there, and I would ask them first. But yeah, that's really nice when they give you kudos
Yeah.
for your contribution.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always
So
appreciated.
on the other side of that, on the flip side, have you ever had to fire a client because they were just incorrigible to work with?
Yeah, it doesn't happen that often. I will say, once in a blue moon, you end up with an author and you think that you're going to work well together and you get what they are looking for. But there was one time where I started off with a client and I certainly had background in the topic. But I rewrote the first chapter 3 times and he still didn't like it, and I'm like, okay, time to go.
You're out.
I mean, I did the best I could, and so on, and that's all we can do. But at the same time, I'm like, there was something else in his mind that I just obviously was not connecting with. So it is very important that if you're considering working with a ghostwriter, to meet with them, kind of get a feel for how you communicate with each other. And I think, I've always most of the time followed my gut, and it just makes a big difference in selecting the right ghostwriter for the project.
Yeah, it really does. And I think as we go along in our businesses, no matter what they are, we become, at the beginning, we accept anybody and everybody when we're cutting our teeth,
Yeah.
but then as we progress and evolve as business people, we become more discerning on, ooh, the first interview, I think they're going to be fussy about everything. And we get to choose, oh, you know what? My schedule is just so packed. I can't. And I wouldn't refer a trouble client to somebody else unless they really enjoyed working with troubled people.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
There's been times I've had to actually pick up a project and take it over.
okay.
I work with several publishers, so there's been times where they've called me and go, "Okay, Sherry, this manuscript needs a complete rehaul. Can you do it?" And that sort of thing. And I'm happy to do that. And it's just a matter of, polishing it up and that sort of thing in some cases. Other cases, it does require, well, I wonder why they didn't answer this or ask about this or what about this, that sort of thing. So, yeah, that happens, and just kind of pick up where we can and do it the best we can.
Yeah, absolutely. So what have you learned? Maybe the top 2 or 3 things that you've learned about yourself during your ghostwriting career.
Ah, definitely stay in my lane. I definitely have a strong business background and a strong nutrition, health, wellness background. So I kind of like to stay in either those fields, but I have found that because I was on television for many years interviewing doctors and guests for PBS television,
Mm,
that I found that I am very good at interviewing and asking those questions, those probing questions that, you hear hosts ask. And so as a result of that, I have found that new niche. But I definitely stay in those, I guess, 2 lanes or 3 lanes:
okay.
business, fitness, memoirs.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
need to stay in that. What else have I learned? Giving time to do it. I need to not work on more than 2 or 3 projects at a time. I've learned that where there was times when I got overwhelmed and I was working on 5. And then it points to I'd have to sign a book per day and work on it each day and knock it out. Yeah. But yeah, so that would be it. And then, prepare. Always got to make sure that I'm ready to go for that meeting, that next meeting. Um, getting the content done on time. I find that for me, the best time to write is early in the morning. I get a lot done during those early hours. Um, Not that I sleep in often, but I don't like it when I do sleep in because I'm like, shoot, I wanted to get that chapter done. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much what I've learned through the process, but it's certainly enjoyable. I love it. I love constructing sentences, taking what people say and getting into the heart of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you and your husband ever work together on certain projects? Because I know he has a football background, football officiating background. And
Yes,
so
he was
have
a sportscaster for a number of years, and so there's a
sportscaster.
project that we're working on actually right now, and that's been interesting. And it's so funny anytime, when football season hits and I'm watching a game with him, which I've now learned to like doing. I didn't really know a whole lot about how football worked per se, but after watching TV or the games on TV with him, it's like I might as well be in the booth with the announcers because he'll say the same thing either before they say it, or he will say, "What are you talking about? That's not what happened," or whatever. And he's like, anyway, so because of that background, I felt confident taking on a book in that genre. So yeah, so sometimes I'll say, "So what does that mean?" Or I'll ask him, a question about that. So
Yeah, that is so funny. And that's a good complimentary, skill set to have because you write and he was a sportscaster. And I know you worked on a chapter of a book that had a lot of football lingo in it. And he was able to kind of add his 2 cents, but probably a dollar's worth.
yeah, definitely. I'd say that for sure. Yeah, very helpful. Very helpful.
Absolutely fabulous. Yes. So anything else you want to add? Anything that people want that are considering using a ghostwriter, what do they need to know before they hire a ghostwriter?
Yes. Definitely schedule a time to meet with them, preferably on Zoom so you can see each other, kind of get a bit of an idea, get to know each other a little bit. So definitely interview them to check on that chemistry, which it really does matter that you kind of get along, the conversation goes smoothly and you're kind of on the same page a little bit. So interview them, do some research on budgets because I think sometimes people are shell shocked when they realize how
Yeah.
much it costs to get a ghostwriter to really do a good job for them. So you want, be wary of the too low where they're promising the moon and they're hardly charging you anything. I'm like, I don't know, that's a little. And
Yes.
then, but also, like way too high, you also don't want to spend way too much either. So I would do some research on and have a budget in mind before you meet with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you do a Google search and there's the Fiverr prices. And then there's the prima donna prices, and
Yeah.
that's what you're talking about. And somewhere in the middle, and just should they Google questions to ask, or what questions should they ask when they approach a ghostwriter to find out if they're really legitimate or if they're maybe not so much?
Yeah. Definitely you want to feel confident that the ghostwriter is going to take you through the process and make sure that they are very clear about that and ask the questions that you are concerned about, like how long it would take. Typically a book of about 100 to 150 pages. For me, that takes 4 months. If a book is longer than that, closer to the 200 range, then we're looking at 5 or 6 months to get the book completely written and ready to publish. And that's what you want to know. Are they going to provide a publisher ready manuscript? Very
Yes.
important. Yeah. Because you don't want to send something in that hasn't been edited, isn't ready to go. Granted, if you go, whether you go with a printer or a traditional publisher, it's still going to be edited again, and they need to know that. But that's part of that process, getting the book printed. But for the ghostwriting process, that's what they should provide you. The ghostwriter should that.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you approach the revision process Do you work chapter by chapter? Do you write the whole manuscript and then I know you get on Zoom, but how do you approach that? So, because a lot of ghostwriters they'll just write 2 or 3 chapters and then just send them in a Word doc to the client. And then
Yeah.
they're waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting. So you have a little different approach, which I really love.
Yes, thank you. I absolutely love this process. Once a chapter is finished, I like to meet with the author and read through it together. And the reason why that works so well, number one, it's efficient. We get it done. Number two, they will often have light bulb moments throughout that reading process where they went, oh, shoot, I meant to add this story or this detail or whatever the case may be. And then once that is finished, that's the content editing process. That's done. Then I go through and edit it again for grammar, spelling, make sure punctuation is accurate and so on. Then we meet again and work chapter 2 and so on. So that to me is an efficient way. You're right. I would send it to the authors and it's overwhelming. You
Yes.
send them like what, 50, 60, 70 pages maybe? And, now they got to read through that and get through it in a timely manner. Well, it doesn't always happen. So I just kind of, let's do this together.
Yeah, I love that approach because, and often a first-time author doesn't know about structure and doesn't know about story development and all that. And so they're just reading it to say, oh, wait, this is not what happened. But
Yes.
all that plays
Yeah.
into it. So I love that approach. And that's been wildly successful for you.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Got to get those details right. Get it concise.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else I missed that you want to communicate to people and the importance of a ghostwriter, when they should maybe write the book themselves sometimes, or, just kind of add that to our finality here?
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've heard an author say, well, I started writing it and I got like, oh, I don't know, a few pages done, if that. And then they kind of hit a roadblock. So again, that's why it's important to work with a ghostwriter. It will help you get to where you need to get, even if you write sections of it. Nothing wrong with that. It can be a little bit of a collaborative effort. But for the most part, I find it's just getting with a ghostwriter will help you be efficient and get the book done.
Yeah, it definitely will. And, there's a writing strategist portion to how I refer my clients to as well. And if they're a strong writer and they have a really good command of the English language and all that, I will say, okay, yeah, this is a lot less than ghostwriting, but a writing strategist can work with you to develop a table of contents, a working table of contents, and then maybe help you structure the first 3 chapters. So the direction. Maybe they'll send you homework or things to think about, and then maybe they can take it from there. So is that a way for some stronger writers to approach their project?
Yes, of course. And what I find too, and I've worked with people that have done that, they want to get your input into how we feel about the book as well. And so that, ends up actually building a relationship and we end up moving forward and creating an amazing book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. There was one more question I had, is that, do you have I hate to ask this like this way, but do you have a favorite client? What describes one of your favorite clients? I'll make it more generic. Instead of naming a name, just describe that.
Yeah, definitely talking about an interesting topic, something they're passionate about. I want to capture that passion in the book. Someone that you know what, to be honest, I've become friends with most of my authors. We'll still stay in touch or they'll reach out to me. Maybe we haven't talked in a while, but we just kind of pick up where we left off. So they actually kind of become like an old friend. And that's what's kind of nice. That's what I love about it. That's what I love about ghostwriting as well.
Yeah.
The relationships that are formed.
Yeah, me too. I love, my clients. And the same way, I just keep in touch. I'll reach out to them or they'll reach out to me every
Yeah.
once in a while. I have one client who's a sales leadership client, and he'll send me picture. He just sent me a picture, texted me a picture a couple of weeks ago of him and Les Brown,
Oh,
the
wow.
famous motivational speaker. And I had met Les years and years ago, but just the little things like that. And I'll just say, hey, how are you doing? And you're right. It's just that building the relationships and maintaining them.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I still hear from my authors today, so love it. Love it.
Yes. Now, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they connect with you on social media and or your website?
Yes, I would love if they visit my website. It's sherrywritesforyou.com, all in lowercase. Sherry is spelled like the wine, Sherry, writes for you, WRITES for you.com. And that would be the best way to reach me. There's samples of my writing there. You'll see a sample of that book, The Pharmaceutical Myth, there as well. And you can fill out a form and send me an email. And of course, my phone number's there. So I would love it if you've got a book idea and would love to discuss it, would love to hear about it.
Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you. I just am so thankful that you are on Winning Proof team. I know you work independently and you're not part of any team but yourself, but as far as I'm concerned, you're part of the Winning Proof team. And I'm really thankful for your gifts and talents and the way you work with clients, your personality, everything. So I really want to just tell you that in a heartfelt way.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. I really feel honored to be a part of your winning team for sure. Love it. Winning Proof team.
Yeah, we are Winning Proof that if you don't quit,
right,
things happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so thank you so much for being a guest on today.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, and I just want to end with telling people you can connect with me. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe to my channel. That always helps. Share the episodes with somebody that you think could benefit from a ghostwriter. And you can find me on winningproof.com. That's my website. And you can email me at winningproof@gmail.com. And you can find me at Winning Proof on LinkedIn, which I'm very active on, Twitter, which I'm not so active on, and Facebook, which I am moderately active on. And of course, YouTube, where this podcast lays. And so thank you for watching. And until next time, thank you for watching another episode of Winning Proof Unscripted.